everyone, it's just Kris, your Cardvoyant, and I wanted to just record this little intro to this final section of this reading, just to let you know that I feel like in this part of the reading there is some um, definition to into what's happening and some suggestions for how we get through it. But I think that mostly I just wanted to say that there's a lot happening, and it's very difficult to navigate this time right now. I'm finding it difficult to anyway. There's just so much going on. But we really can breathe, and it's very easy to say go inward, but it really is a matter of seizing our own personal power. This is the only way that we can contribute to the world moving forward in love and light. And you'll see that in this reading, especially this final part, the word love just comes up over and over and over again. But of course, this is what we're talking about. This is the basis of the universe. This is what we want to move toward. So I do want to assure you there's a little bit of information about like what do I actually do or what is actually going to happen, but there are a lot of moving parts. I mean, timing in tarot or any kind of psychic reading kind of stuff is always tricky because everybody has free will and people can influence the timing of events and even things that take place because of their own free will, and they can change. It can change. Um, I have mixed feelings about doing like tons of political content, but I know that it's just so pressing on people, and I'm thinking if there are specific things that we kind of want to talk about or do readings about, I think I'm happy to do that. I think it would depends like on the question. I just I don't it's hard to see many people making predictions that are very specific because I always feel like that's so it's so difficult on so many levels. So I feel like guidance is, and that's kind of what tarot is. I mean, these readings that I give, they're always um, information and then some guidance, but ultimately these are our decisions to make, and that goes on the personal level and on the collective level. So if you have questions, if you have topics that you think you would like me to pursue, or even if there are things that you would like me to talk about concerning tarot and learning tarot and all of that kind of stuff, or anything else, just let me know, and maybe we can go ahead and move forward with that. I appreciate you watching. I know it's a small number of people who have been invested in this, but I appreciate that you have the same concerns that I do and that you're willing to listen to the this reading that is kind of like my attempt to figure some of this out and ask for help from my guides and from the universe, really. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate you, sharing if you feel like you'd like to share the video, and just sticking around and letting me know what else you would like to talk about, what kind of things we can address on this channel if that's something that you feel is worth pursuing. So, with that, all that said, which was like much longer than I thought it was going to be, but with all that said, please enjoy this last part of the video, and I sincerely hope that it's helpful to you and resonates with you and is meaningful for you. Thanks again. Bye for now. And let's look at these last two cards because we get the Fool card, which is, and I love the Fool card. It's an amazing card. It's the zero card, so it can come at the beginning, like the start of everything in tarot, the major arcana, or at the end, right? When sort of this fulfillment and this rebirth card, because just like we talked about in the circle in the Six of Wands, and this comes under that card, there is this cycle of rebirth and regeneration, and this will happen, and it's incumbent upon us to take that leap of faith, which is what this card is all about. You see the little white dog, the white caps on the mountain, the white rose, even the brilliance of the white sun, that all again talk about, just as in the card above it, actually the two cards above it talk about pure intention loving, pure intention. The bindle that he carries, the red in his sleeves, this passionate energy, the roses, again, this sort of blossoming, this rebirth, again, the warmth of the yellow mountains, again, talking about rising to a higher place. We are asking, we are tasked in this moment, individually and collectively, to take a leap of faith, right? To step off the mountain, as I can't remember who this said this. It may be Raymond Carver, but I'm not sure. To step off the mountain, you know, take that leap of faith and build our wings on the way down. What are we doing? What are we stepping off of? What are we stepping off from? We must step into love, loving the things we do, fearlessly, unabashedly, doing those things that, and claiming those things and moving toward those things that move us toward love and light. Individually, this doesn't call on you to save the world. It calls on you to express your soul in a loving way. That energy adds to this collective energy of love and light that is necessary for us to sort of overwhelm and outnumber and change this energy that moves toward fear and toward unsatiable desire for more that may or may not be fulfilling in any way, right? It's just, I want to have, I want to be, I want to, I want to quash people, I want to step on people, I want to change everything so that I appear to me to be better than, or more than, or limitless in power, right? There's never a truth to that, and there's never a way to make that this sort of pure intentioned love of what I'm doing. So again, if your love is, gardening, that is an expression of high vibrational energy that can change the world literally. So you don't have to change the world. You have to I don't even want to say change yourself. It's more like you have to express yourself, to love the things that you love and do the things that you love, and not be affected or stopped by circumstances, by other people, by the chaos that other people try to foment. We have to step into this promise and this possibility of love between each other, for other people, unconditionally, allowing them to be who they are and appreciating that we are all individuals and not all of us love the same things or want the same things, but these are things that are pure intention, dear to our hearts, right? Not moving toward fear and violence and greed and power, right? They say that is what is necessary to, in sort of finger quotes, save the world. It's funny because I want to say, that doesn't mean we turn a blind eye to what's happening. But they're talking about continuing, think of the world of left and right, like a page or a movie screen, right? On one side of the movie screen, there is just these chaos builders, and they're doing all these things, and they're sort of infighting and thinking that they're winning and doing things to make them feel better. And on the other side, there's the rest of the people who are sort of living in this Six of Wands, Nine of Cups reality, and they're simply building love and connection and trust. And that sounds maybe not powerful enough, but it's extremely powerful. There is a protection mode here too, right? Where we're protecting each other and what we care about. So that may mean that we have to, I don't want to say fight, because we don't want to expend our energy like just constantly fighting what they're doing, because that puts us that puts our energy into that same energy that they're bringing, right? And we want to have this different energy on this other side that is love and light and those kinds of things. So it's more like protecting, like we protect each other, we protect the things that we care about. That may involve, of course, pushback and all of that kind of stuff. But we have to have our focus, our ideals on this idea of protecting, growing, appreciating each other, the things that we love, the beauty of the world, and the beauty that we as human beings can bring to the world and produce in the world. And we are building a sort of a tower that is so much stronger than what they're building, because ultimately what they're building must collapse because there's nothing to it. What they're building is individual silos, if you want to think of it that way, little cubes of individual power and wants, and nothing to do with the strength, the spiritual, so sort of the ephemeral, but also the very physical beauty and love and connection in so many ways. And we have to do that. We have to build these strong communities that are based in love. And they may be little enclaves within communities or cities or school districts or countries or bigger things, but we are in truth building this huge tower that is stronger, so much stronger, because it's real than what these destructive kind of narcissistic individuals are building, even though they think they're building something very strong, but it's not. It falls apart because they are it's like Tetris, right? Not Tetris, Jenga. It's like Jenga, right? You pull out the wrong thing, or a house of cards, right? It collapses because it's not really built on anything. It's just sort of leaning against each other, and there's sort of hatred and vitriol and passion for power and greed. It's all just leans on each other. It's not built on anything real. And love is always real, right? The things we build through love and to love and with love are always real and solid and unshakable and unmovable. The reason that we get the Empress card at the end, because they are talking in part about feminine energy. Now, this does has to do with women. Women have a huge role to play in this sort of next 100 years. But it's mostly talking, or in a larger sense, talking about what we think of, what we traditionally assign to the feminine, right? This feminine energy. That is nurturing, caring, loving, communicative, supportive, understanding, right? That's all sort of what we think of as feminine energy. Of course, physical men on the physical earth possess those same qualities, as not all men are greedy and all those kinds of things. Not all women are enmeshed in feminine energies. But what we think of feminine energy is what builds this strong tower, this resilient tower of love and support and connection and caring, right? And really makes it triumph in our society, sort of eventually. But we have to keep building the tower no matter what. And we have to like the Empress, find our strength, our support, our connection. Look at the stars and her scepter, and the lushness of the earth around her, and the passion, right? And this regeneration, this feeling of rebirth with the flowers on her tunic here, right? That is how you rebuild. That is the strength of the world, and that is what we are trying to do, and that is feminine energy. I'm telling you, women have an important role, a very important role to play in this next strengthening of 100 years. But men, of course, same thing, as we all sort of try, who are building this tower based in love, to embrace these kinds of traditionally feminine feelings and motivations, right? It's almost whatever over here on the other side, that, you know, they're building all these personal things, this house of cards. It almost feels, and I don't want to make light of it, because there's a cruelty and there's a confusion and there's a desperation that leads to many sort of horrific things on this side. But to those who are building these other sort of tangible, good, ultimately victorious things on this other side, it's almost like comical. It would be comical if it weren't so heartbreaking. Heartbreaking on so many levels, part of which is these individual people who are spending their lifetimes doing these things that not only get them nowhere, but sort of bury them in karma that will take a long time to work out and work through. And much of that karma will take place not in the physical world, because there's kind of like, well, we're not going to let this happen again, or this won't happen again, at least with this individual soul, right? So there's a lot of sort of reckoning, teaching, balancing that necessarily takes place on the non-physical soul level in the non-physical world. So what else is to be said here? They want to reiterate that all this should be taken sort of macro level, but also micro level, personal level. Every bit of what I've said can be taken on the macro level, but also on the micro personal individual level. So, but I know that all of us, so many of us are saying like, but what is going to happen? How, this is scary. I'm being hurt. All of these things. So like, what is going to happen? Well, much of that is up to us, they say. Much of that is up to us. There is no reason for it to get to a level of, say, like World War II, or even worse, a World War III. There's no reason for that to happen. Stand up for love. That's all we have to do, is stand up for love. We don't even have to consider them. I mean, obviously, we do on some, these various levels. But really, what we are building is a new and different thing. They keep showing me is it the moon card? This may be in more than one card, where there's two towers, right? And then the path goes between these two towers. That's what they keep showing me, because they're building this tower, and it may look as sturdy as the tower that we're building, the people moving toward Love and Light are building, but it's not true, because their tower is the actual tower in the tower card that is crumbling, on fire, burning, with this sort of king and queen representing these sort of individuals who are trying to put themselves above everybody else, falling from the tower to their demise. That is the truth of that tower. I feel like they're really going to put us to the test. They're just going to wreak havoc, but ultimately the havoc that they wreak falls on them. And I'm talking specifically about the United States government, but there are other places where similar things are happening or will happen, and it's kind of the same story. But specifically in the United States, the chaos that they're pursuing ultimately consumes them. And it falls like a house of cards, and they fall, they crash and burn. And the things that they have created, even sort of the legacies that they think that they have created, are no longer a truth. They don't ever have to be a truth. These aren't things, nothing in the world is as solid as anybody thinks. Anything can come falling down unless we are striving to move toward love and light that always supports us. Even though we have challenges and things that we go through and things that are extremely difficult, we are ultimately supported by the universe. And we can find this sort of through individual spirituality. Even as we may go through extremely tough times, we are building I was going to say loving karma, but they're saying that that's not the right word, that there's another something. What is this? I feel like I'd have to do a reading on that, but it's almost like building up tokens or brownie points or something that furthers our personal growth and sort of bathes us in a security net, or what is this? It's like being protected. That bathes in a kind of protection, but also a spiritual growth or boost, right? So yeah, karma is something different. It feels like it's saved for these very challenging moving toward fear situations. But when we are challenged ourselves and continue and move toward love and light, even when we aren't challenged, when we're just sort of doing that, although life is always challenging, then we are building something else. It's not the opposite of karma, but it is something that moves us toward love and light and protects us in love and light. And this goes into the non-physical world and throughout lifetimes. Keeps us more connected to the non-physical world when we're in any sort of physical life situation. Very much Empress energy. They give us the Empress at the end of this reading to remind us of that, to remind us of our own strength, what we're moving toward, and how we move forward. But as far as this regime, I will say there is chaos that they are pursuing and trying to push out into the world, but it brings chaos upon them, and there is already chaos among them. There are several who will not live to see sort of their plan fulfilled, and their plan may be fulfilled, or their greed or lust or avarice may be fulfilled in some ways, but it will not be fulfilled in all ways, and ultimately comes crashing down. There is a rebuilding of the United States, and there are some changes that are made, I want to say constitutionally, in voting, in the way government's conducted, kind of. But these are in response to that, ways to not let this happen again. There's much of the old guard that sort of goes away in sort of like both parties, but just kind of in general. And it does make way for this sort of rebirth, I guess you would say. Some of these people, I say old guard, that doesn't necessarily mean they're old, or it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be old people that are just gone because they're old. No, many will remain. It has to do with old beliefs, right, and old systems. And many people, even though they may be opposing what's happening in government now, they are entrenched in some dogma and sort of restrictive ideas, and that they will sort of be gone as well. And that doesn't necessarily mean be like, they die, but it does mean that they're not at the seat of power any longer. It does feel young. This energy does feel young, this energy of change, which is necessary and kind of a beautiful thing. But again, there can be people who are older in chronological age but have this younger energy. But it does feel refreshing. And you know what? I have to say that it doesn't feel long. It doesn't feel, I've always felt that like sort of the trauma that we've been through since 2016 is a good 30 or 40 years in lasting, sort of. But that doesn't mean that this current administration takes power for the next 30 years, 25 years, whatever it is now, 20 years, whatever. I don't think that's true, but I think that the rebuilding process is quite a bit longer, and there are going to be these flashes of these people that have power or groups that have power, but it's unsustainable, especially as this sort of current regime falls, and all the key players. Most of the key players are just gone. And again, that doesn't mean that they pass away. It means they are gone from power. There's just like a collapse. There's a complete collapse. I think that this happens within these 4 years. And there may be some sort of, this sort of little bit chaotic, and missteps and stuff like that during the next sort of election cycle, and maybe the next couple of election cycles. But eventually, and as we go through this, and as sort of new people come into play, they see the need to restructure government, to restructure even the Constitution, or the way that the Constitution lays out government. And to put in new protections, but it actually feels like a restructuring of American democracy, not to take away from, but to ensure a sort of broader distribution of power, and and an inability to sort of accumulate power, whether it's politically or economically. And there are changes that need to be made, because there are things that weren't completely anticipated by the founding fathers, but some things that kind of were anticipated but weren't expressed specifically or more dynamically in the way the Constitution is now and was written. So there's like a fine tuning of it, and a little tweaking of it, and a better representation of it. So, in this, there's still the Republic, there's still this representative democracy, but it looks a little bit different. And that's important if we're going to move forward. And we are going to move forward because, again, the individual souls, the people on the planet today, those who want to move toward love and light, those who care about each other, who care about the planet, who care about beauty and love and joy and happiness and individual expression, far outnumber the individuals who are consumed by things that move toward fear, greed and power and hatred and violence and avarice and it's really fear. I mean, all those words sort of describe different parts of fear, but there's a true fear in their hearts. Fear of not being enough, fear of dying, fear of being found out, that imposter syndrome, fear of their own human frailty and inclinations, right? That kind of fear weakens individuals. And boy, and weak individuals, that feeling of helplessness, of not being heard, of of being weak, right? That inspires all kinds of cruelty on so many levels, and disregard for others, which is cruelty, of course. It's unsustainable. They want us to continue to build, to live in love and not fear, to work on the things that we love and care about, and love and care about others and protect them and find joy in their self expression, and to not succumb to fear because we don't want to sort of change sides, but also understand that it is unsustainable, and sort of the greatest thing that we can do is to become even more immersed in the things that we love, and doing the things that we love, and producing the things that we love, and realizing that our greatest love and greatest ability to express things is tied up in our connection with other people and our connection with the universe. So yes, protecting other people. Yes, celebrating other people. Yes, reveling in their accomplishments and their love of the universe, each other, the planet, in whatever way that they lovingly pursue that. Again, this is on the macro, definitely. This is on the micro. But they do sort of want to, and I had asked and wanted to know about sort of the current situation, and that is what they say, that they are building a house of cards, an angry and chaotic house of cards that inevitably, as all house of cards do, it will crumble. And I feel like it's not that there's not going to create chaos, and not that there's things that we're going to have to go through, and not that many people won't be hurt, because they will. But it's not only it's unsustainable, but it's just, it's like inevitable, because they're individualistic, and that's what they care about, and they can't work and will never work as a team for very long, because that is the truth of their existence, and it will come crumbling down. And I do feel like this happens within these next 4 years. Maybe toward the end, maybe some parts of it will be, different parts, but I feel like it crumbles, like the Tower card, within these next 4 years, especially after 3 years, which sounds like a really long time after, just 10 days or so of chaos. But that's what it feels like. Meanwhile, we just keep building our tower. Love, happiness, joy, curiosity, connection, support, beautiful self-expression, and joy and support of others' self-expression that moves us toward love and away from fear. So there you have it. There I have it. I hope this is helpful and meaningful, and leads you and us and all of us toward love and light and an understanding of the purpose of the universe and the inevitable loving truth of the universe. So until next time, I will just say bye for now.